So, yeah, so straw poll, those in support of this amendment, can you just raise your hand real quick and see where we're at? I'm not seeing your hand raised, Barb. Okay. So I'm not sure there's support for this, but we can come back to that. I want to get through, the motion is going to cover all the other parts of the things that Pauline.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I just don't even understand what specific you're asking me. We're asking about double I?
Yeah, these are the changes Pauline is recommending.
In red.
That would be...
Or in public facility on public land. That seems redundant. Why wouldn't it just be on public land?
Because this would exclude public facilities zoned that is privately owned.
Right, but if it doesn't say public facility zone at all, is that because the state makes us want to say public facility?
I think it's because we have a zone that has some private ownership, which is sort of an anomaly that probably Salem didn't think about. So
I don't think that's an anomaly. Lane County churches go in public facilities, and a Grange Hall, which I don't think is a public thing, can go on a public facility. So I don't know. I just know those two. I know ourselves and then Lane County, and we both allow things other than public ownership in public facility.
Okay.
So I think what our intent was when we created little 2, where we say located in a residential, commercial, mixed-use zoning district or in the public facility zoning district, is because the bill says zoned for commercial uses. Well, what's that mean for the city for commercial uses? That means our commercial mixed-use districts. Then it says zone to allow religious assembly. So we applied a zone to that. So that's our residential districts, commercial mixed use as well. And then when it says zoned as public lands, we apply a zone to that. So we want to list the zoning districts that these uses are allowed in.
Okay. So we can do that, or we can add this extra language on the screen that would specifically result in excluding privately owned PF land. Councilor Campbell, which of those are you in favor of?
I thought that it was privately owned and zoned public facility, and they have a qualified affordable housing provider, that even then they could do it, the 35 acres, if they actually partnered with Habitat for Humanity?
Yeah, they could do that unless we make this change. Then they could not.
I don't know why we wouldn't want them to do that.
Okay, well, I'm taking that as that you don't support this change then.
I think I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So I don't, I think, did we have 4 hands on that or not?
I support the change.
Okay. Where are you at, Riley? No? Okay, so.
I thought she recused herself, please.
No, she did not.
She did
Nunzi, please do not disrupt our meeting, or I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Please don't disrupt the meeting, Nunzi. She did not recuse herself. She declared a potential conflict. Nunzi, don't interrupt again, or I'm gonna ask you to leave. Nunzi,
I will speak
stop.
for myself. I did not recuse. I declared a potential conflict, which allows me to continue with the conversation and then vote on the item.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, please, no interruptions, folks. It's 10:30. Let's get through this. Okay. So I think there's not council support for this particular amendment. And I think we covered the income qualified question. Are there any other questions for councilors that will help us in our deliberations on the final motion that anyone has questions about? And do you, I see you've got something in front of you. Do you have the motion that's amended without that part?
I'm not sure. I think I would have to say in the PowerPoint, and reflected in attachment D, this does not reference that.
Yeah, I think you're good.
This is where we're still at?
This is the one that's without
No,
that
that's
addition.
We got it.
here.
Oh, the one in the packet?
Oh, no, you're right, it does.
Just cross that out.
Oh,
Okay.
This piece
Yeah,
here.
just
the motion on the agenda PowerPoint.
we've got it.
Okay.
We've got it. We just crossed out the part.
Are we
that doesn't
ready
have
for a
support.
motion, or?
I think so.
I'm ready. I move for the first reading of the ordinance amending the Bend Development Code, BDC, in compliance with certain Oregon state laws to facilitate housing, including BDC chapters 1.1, General Administration, 1.2, Definitions, 2.1, Residential Districts, 2.2 commercial zoning districts, 2.3 mixed-use zoning districts, 2.4 industrial zoning districts, 2.6 public facility zoning district, 2.7 special plan district refinement plans, area plans, and master plans, 3.3 vehicle parking, loading, and bicycle parking, 3.6 special standards and regulations for certain uses, 3.8 development alternatives, 4.1 development review and procedures, 4.2 minimum development standards review, site plan review, and design review, 4.3 land divisions and property line adjustments, and creating BDC 3.6.250 income qualified housing and BDC chapters 5.3 adjustments with proposed amendments to BDC chapter 1.2 definitions, adding definitions for income qualified housing and public lands, and
Hold on, just let her finish it.
and adding density standards for the PF district, and to BDC 4.3.700 A, 2B, 4.3700 C, and 4.3700 F for middle housing land divisions as presented by staff in the PowerPoint and reflected in the attachment D to the issue summary.
Second.
We took out,
Yeah.
Which one? The one we're reading?
She didn't say that.
This is number 9. It was on our, on the dais for us.
Colleen, do you have the motion?
Yep, I'm gonna
Here, Brooke.
Can we put it on the screen?
get back to my Zoom.
Yeah.
Yep,
We just crossed out the part about the public lands.
Yeah, I'll do it.
This one.
All right, sorry, so Counselor Perkins moved in, Counselor Ray, you seconded?
Mhm.
Okay, great. All right, let's get that up and then we can,
Yeah, that'd be great.
perfect.
Let me just get it, so it's like from the slide, and just to clarify,
Yeah.
Yep, we
we're
took that out.
striking
Yep.
public
I
lands.
think I said all that.
Everybody knows
Yep,
what they're
you did.
voting on.
And we should
Yeah.
say adding a
a
definition
lot.
for income qualified housing instead of plural definitions.
Yeah. Yep, clean that up, however, that is what she said, to be clear. Okay. Any further deliberation on this motion now that it's been made?
Do we have a second?
Yeah,
Yep.
Mike seconded, yep.
Yeah, can I, so Russ said that in 3 years, nobody's ever come from the schools or the parks or anywhere saying, we want to build housing,
Not the type of affordable housing that's defined in SB 8,
right?
right, that would be allowed outright on PF.
Right? But we think that clarifying this by putting it in our code will be the change we need.
Oh, sorry, go
I
ahead.
just, frankly, because I will tell you, I want the schools and the parks and absolutely anybody to do what we have done, which is scour our rolls for unused property. Not try and decide if they think a park is too big, but actual unused property. And I think that those agencies, those are the people with the absolute most knowledge. Those are the people who know very well just how confusing government is, and especially, and it just seems to me like a phone call from somebody at the Parks District over to Russ, and they would explain. I have a problem with Russ saying this is so complicated that nobody wants to do it.
No, that's
And
not
then
the sidebar.
Pauline stands up and explains it to us in just 3 or 4 slides.
That's
And
not
that's
what
where I
said.
agree with you. Pauline should be writing this stuff for the state,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I just feel like the best thing we could do is just start sending them letters and phone calls saying, look through your rolls. What can we do? How can we help you figure out if you've got any property? And what all this seems to be doing is just freaking people out, just making people very, very nervous and uncertain in a nervous and uncertain time when the rules are changing every few months. And there you go. That is why I'm having a very hard time and I'm leaning toward no.
Okay, Counselor Campbell, I'll tell you what I heard Russ say is that when the
Thanks.
laws were passed, it was intended to allow more housing and get more housing on the ground.
Right.
We're implementing laws that are going to help, hopefully, per Salem's purview and intent, get more housing on the ground. I don't think Russ said by codifying the law, that's gonna be the catalyst. It's not. It's gonna depend on the market. It's gonna depend on availability of tax income credits, housing credits. It's gonna depend on what can Habitat do and where, what land is available, what do property owners wanna do. This is simply setting the stage for folks to do that. And I don't disagree, and I think we should also advocate for our public agency partners to do what you're saying. I think we can do both. So, but I don't think that's what Russ meant or said. And
Well, what he said was
Go ahead,
the
Brad.
the goal is to allow more housing. I put it down, and
goal with the policy.
and this particular change does not allow anything that isn't already allowed.
It just clarifies in our code, so if a district wants to do something, they know where to go, and as Mary was saying, in one place to understand what they can and cannot do on their property, and they don't have to go interpret a state statute to do it. So if the park district or the school district or another agency wants to develop a piece of land, first, they need to determine what they want to do with that property. They need to say, I want to surplus it or I want to develop on it. Then they would have to come in and do a development application in which they need to meet certain criteria in our code. When we say it's allowed outright, it doesn't just mean they can go out there tomorrow and build something. They then have to go through our site plan process and make sure that they are complying with our code, just like any other development in town. This just states what the rules are for what they can do on their property in the clearest possible way that we can to avoid confusion.
One thing I want to also add, so any public agency, not just the city, but parks, schools, it's not just this happens and then development can occur. So if you're going to surplus property, it has to go, there's a state
I know.
process that surpluses property. So there's multiple avenues for folks to participate. So if there's some concern around a piece of public property, I mean, as Russ said, the first avenue is to go to that district and talk about those concerns, but they would have to follow a surplus process before they would even engage with a developer to build housing or anything else on that property.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other deliberation before we vote? Yeah.
Just a comment about, I think if you look at SB 8, if you look at SB 1537, these were passed with the support of our local delegation, House representatives, senators. They were passed by Republicans, they were passed by Democrats. These were very popular bills. I get tonight that, first of all, I think the participation has been tremendous. I really appreciate everybody staying here this late, and I'm going to keep it really short. I do think there's a lot of shared values here, concern for preserving open space, providing affordable housing, support for things like building ADUs, saving parks. It's not the case that we're considering any parks for housing. That would be the purview of the Parks District, as has been said earlier. I do get this question, then why do we need to update our code to reflect what is already a state requirement? I think if let's just say hypothetically you did oppose these bills, you did oppose the intention of them, I don't think that the appropriate way to oppose them would be to rely on an outdated local Bend development code that does not match the law of the land. I know, Mary, you had said that you thought that developers, they look at our local code and then that's the only place they look. I don't think that's quite the case because we've already had 2 instances locally where this process has moved forward. So I feel like if that's your goal, this is not the right or the best way to accomplish it. So I feel like the best thing that we can do is actually, we have 4-year terms on this body. 4 years is not enough, honestly, to do things like protect our lands, and we need good people in these positions for the next 20 years and beyond. So if you care about these issues, as I do, and as I suspect that all of us up here do, stay involved, because this is what it takes. Talk to the people at the Parks District, talk to the school district, have a voice. That's what it's going to take. So I'm going to be supporting this motion.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Riley.
I'm planning to support it as well. I do think that it's important for us to, I think as Councilor Mendez said, have our code be consistent with state law and have one place that people can go to understand what the rules are. And I think as you've heard many times tonight, this is the law of the land. Everything we're talking about here, people can already do. So we're just putting it in one place. I mean, we rely on the private sector to create the housing that we need in our communities, and we have to partner with them and do that in a way that's efficient. And I think that this helps to improve the efficiency of that process. And I think Councilor Mendez is also right. If you didn't support the outcomes in Senate Bill 8, you either need to try to change them now at the state legislature in Salem, or you should have been at the table when those bills were being passed. But now this is how we're going to move forward. And I think we as a council are generally supportive of doing good work in our community to make more housing possible. And that's a lot of what this is about. Not that it's going to turn the spigot on tomorrow. There's all kinds of reasons why people do or don't go forward. But it makes it clear it's all in one place. I think the other thing I just want to be very clear about is that I do not support having wild development in our parks, and some of what I've heard about images that were put up of parks in our community with developments on them to scare people. I don't think that's helpful. I don't think it's actual clear and accurate reading of what's being proposed here tonight. And I would not support that in our community and do what I could to stop it. Now, there may be a few places where it makes sense to do some housing here, or as we heard about at the school district, possibly doing something on a property that they own that benefits teachers and teachers' aides who work in those schools, who are the folks in the 80 to 120 AMI income range that we're trying to target and support and keep in our community to make it a vibrant place. That makes sense in very limited circumstances, but certainly not wildly developing like Drake Park, for example. I think the last thing I would say is that I've reflected a lot on the appeals part of this, and I think what's proposed here is reasonable. What we need to do as counselors is focus on good policy that protects the whole set of values we've heard about tonight, but that does address the housing crisis that's real in our community and do that inside our urban growth boundary. We need to focus on that good policy, right? And I don't think we are in the best place to be adjudicating some of these things and acting as judges, although there's still times where we sort of have to do that, right? We're trying to minimize things and keep it simple, and we're not taking away people's appeal rights. You still have the ability to appeal to another body if you think that if something was a wrong decision. And I hope, as Councilor Mendez said, that you will stay involved on the policy side, because this is where we as counselors make the biggest difference, and where you can make the biggest difference in the community is when we pass policies in the first place, and then we move forward with implementing them.
All right, any other comments before taking a vote?
Mayor,
Yeah.
procedurally, I think when the motion was read, it included all the language.
It didn't.
No.
She didn't read the crossed out
You didn't read
part.
the cross out?
I literally crossed it out.
You did, okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Crossed it out.
Got it.
Go ahead.
When I heard you audibly, I heard you.
Okay, I moved to amend the motion
I heard you
for the
say-
part that Megan said, wrong, to read, with proposed amendments to BDC Chapter 1.2 definitions, adding a definition for income qualified housing to BDC 3.6.250B.
I will second that amendment. Do I need to second that
Yes,
amendment?
you do.
I will second that amendment to my.
Okay, all those in
Miss-
favor? Maybe this is a fix of language.
Yes.
Is we are going to vote on the substantive issue. All those in
Just a
favor of
fix
this
of language.
amendment, raise your hand if you're in favor of that amendment to fix that language that our attorney says we need to make sure that it says that.
Make sure that it's the motion, yes.
I mean, I was in favor of the original amendment, so I don't want to be in favor.
All right, well, we got 4 over here. So
So I'm opposed.
the motion
Yeah.
now reads correctly for our lawyers.
I just wanted to something that Mike talked about. Yeah, I think the appeal thing is, I definitely had the most pause on that one too. And I will say the reason why I'm in favor of it is every time we get emails from people in the public, then the Mary email comes that says, hey, by the way, you should not talk to people about this in case it does get appealed. It does, I feel like it takes away a lot of my my job on council, which is to engage with the public. And so that is why I feel comfortable being able to have, I feel like this will improve and expand the communication that we can have back and forth on these issues. So that's why I am voting in favor.
Yeah, and I don't want to add too much more. I mean, you guys all said it. It's just formalizing what the state law has already put in place. And I think it provides clarity, like I mentioned earlier, for the development community. And I don't believe the intent is to start building like crazy in our beautiful public parks. I just think it provides more options. I'm also comfortable with the income qualified definition while maintaining our own affordable housing definition in the code. And I think that the appeal process ultimately can be appealed to LUBA, and that is a full stop.
Okay. All right, it sounds like we're ready for a vote on the motion that's on the screen, right there. Can we make it bigger?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. For Barb too. Okay. So all those in favor of the motion on the screen, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so 5-1, the motion will pass. Thank you, everyone, for helping us get through all this today. Thank you, everyone, for your comments here. I just want to say, like, we realize you're here because you care about your community. That's what we're all here for. So we hope that you'll continue to stay engaged on all of the more fun code changes and in all the other policy work we do to make our community great. Okay. That brings us to some second readings.
You can say it.
Oh my God. Say it however you want. Okay, item 11.
Number 11 is a second reading of an ordinance amending Bend Municipal Code Chapter 9.50 signs to update the boundary of Design District 6 based on recent changes to the Bend Parkway alignment.
I move for the second reading and adoption by roll call vote of an ordinance amendment, Bend Municipal Code Chapter 9.50 signs to update the boundary of Sign District 6 based on recent changes to the Bend Parkway alignment.
Second.
Okay, Councilor Norris moved, Councilor Riley seconded. Roll call vote.
Councilor Mendez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins.
Yes.
Councilor Riley.
Aye.
Councilor Norris.
Aye.
Councilor Campbell.
Aye.
And Mayor Keebler.
Yes. Item 12.
It's the second reading of an ordinance amending Bend Municipal Code 16.40 tree preservation and removal related to tree removal exemptions.
And I have to declare an actual conflict on this one, as I have done in the past, due to my employer having a financial impact.
You can step over there. That's fine.
I move for the second reading and adoption by roll call vote of the ordinance amending BMC Chapter 16.40, tree preservation and removal, to simplify the language, add a missing exemption for removal of trees in compliance with the development approval for a land division or site plan review application on a site 1 acre or smaller that does not include one or more dwelling units, micro units, or single room occupancies.
Second.
All right, Councilor Riley moved, Councilor Mendez seconded. Roll call vote. Roll call vote.
Councilor Mendez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Perkins.
Yes.
Councilor Riley.
Yes.
Councilor Campbell.
No.
And Mayor Keebler.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to council action and reports.
I have like 7 things in my.
You want to start?
I'm kidding, no.
Okay, let's keep it short, folks. Do we have a stewardship subcommittee we want to report out on?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you sound excited. Go ahead.
Yeah, dive right in there.
Holy cow.
No, we had a really great meeting. We talked, is it okay if I?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
okay.
go.
About a YAC, which is a Youth Advisory Council Committee, I can't remember what it stands for at this hour. And working with Campfire to make sure that we can get this start moving along. Campfire has an awesome plan with a long phase-in, like a 2-year learning curve, so that they can make sure that it's a sustainable thing. So that was really great to kind of get going, and we talked about moving it along a little quicker, and potentially in January starting some of the research behind it. We also heard from, so we had COCAP and CCAP, So we had the climate action plan, and heard from the ECC and from Cassie to talk about some of the changes and adjustments that they wanted to make over with the climate action plan. And I won't go into all of those right now. And then we heard from, and we got a quick update on the temporary, I can't remember any acronym stands for it. The Safe Stay, thank you. And how that is moving along. And finally, we finished with the Central Oregon Civic Action Project and heard from Josh Burgess, who was the coordinator for it, but more importantly, we heard from 3 of the delegates. And they talked about what the process meant and some ideas that they had, which was really great.
Awesome.
I don't know if Barb or Mike wanted to add to that.
I've heard some presentations on the COCAP Pacific Assembly twice now, and there were different people that spoke at some of them in terms of participants, and I think it really drove home the value of that from a sort of people building confidence in their fellow citizens and learning from their fellow citizens, and sort of just a good example of why we want to use these new engagement tools. I think it was really instructive that way. And somebody had an incredible proposal for the old Costco facility, which was to turn it into a vocational tech-oriented school campus of some kind, especially because they already have some things there related to automotive technology. I just thought it's the best idea I've heard so far. Whether we can get that to happen, I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Woo! Campfire.
Okay, so then community building is gonna meet next month or something?
We're gonna just hold until the new council next year.
New council.
We're working on a time for when the Civic Assembly folks are going to come and present to the whole council.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
encourage
okay.
them to be part of the council goal setting
Yeah, great.
process that we talked about earlier.
Good. Okay, then we have one letter that I just emailed out today that I got a request for just supporting AmeriCorps, which looked fine, and also actually got a similar request to sign that letter from the climate mayors. So unless there's objection, I'm gonna go ahead and sign that on our behalf. We don't have any appointments. We're finishing up all of our interviews, and we'll do appointments for committees in the next meeting. So then we've got council reports. And I'm going to tell everyone now I'm skipping mine. So just, that's an option. I'll do it next time. It's almost 11.
I'll do it next time.
Okay. Anyone burning, having anything burning they want to
There's
update
a lot
on?
going on, but I'm
Councilor
gonna-
Campbell, anything you want to report out?
The only thing from our MPO meeting is we are looking into expanding MPO membership
Right.
to actually have 2 votes for the city of Bend and an additional vote for CET as our transit provider.
Got it.
So that's something for council to mull over,
Okay.
is 2 counselors there.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. City manager
I'll pass.
report.
Yeah.
Pass.
Barb?
Councilor.
Adjourn.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, everybody.